Urgent, building intensity. For 1,400 seconds, a cruise missile skirts just meters above the dark, choppy ocean waves. It flies completely under the radar, hunting a designated target. Its specific engineering purpose is to hunt and sink modern naval destroyers. This satellite map of the Korean Peninsula at night shows the stark divide between North and South. The two nations are packed tightly together, meaning any localized conflict immediately threatens millions of civilians and triggers a global security crisis. At the end of the Korean War in 1953, the United Nations drew a maritime boundary in the Yellow Sea. Known as the Northern Limit Line, or NLL, it was meant to separate the opposing forces and keep the peace. Pyongyang has completely refused to recognize that boundary for over half a century. They claim the waters south of the line belong to them. That territorial dispute has triggered decades of deadly, localized naval skirmishes, historically referred to as the Crab Wars, because they often center around seasonal fishing fleets. In early 2024, Kim Jong Un escalated those tensions from localized skirmishes to national policy. He issued a decree stating that any South Korean or U.S. vessel crossing the northern limit line will be considered an armed provocation and an act of war. Grounded, Pyongyang is replacing diplomatic ambiguity with kinetic force, fielding a weapon designed specifically to enforce its own maritime map. This is the weapon they plan to use, the Patasuri 6 or Sea Eagle 6. This image captures the coastal defense missile during its first public test launch on February 14, 2024. Visually and functionally, the Sea Eagle traces its lineage back to the Russian KH-35 Uran and an older North Korean system called the Kumsong-3. Pyongyang has taken that baseline technology and adapted it heavily for their current tactical needs. The missile fires from a highly mobile tracked vehicle, allowing launch crews to hide in rugged coastal terrain, fire quickly, and relocate before they can be targeted. A solid fuel booster provides the initial explosive thrust to get the weapon airborne. This animation illustrates the missile's cruise phase. Once in the air, a turbojet engine takes over, pushing the weapon to subsonic speeds around Mach 0.8. To avoid interception, it flies a sea-skimming profile. Hiding beneath the Earth's curvature, it ducks the radar of modern warships. In tests, the Sea Eagle flew over 1,400 seconds, translating to an estimated operational range of 200 to 400 kilometers. This 400-kilometer reach covers the disputed Yellow Sea, positioning the Sea Eagle as the primary enforcer of Kim's new maritime boundaries. By forward deploying these missile battalions along the coast, North Korea is building an anti-access area denial, or A2AD, fortress. The goal is to make the waters so hazardous that enemy fleets simply cannot enter without taking catastrophic losses. The Sea Eagle relies on the grim math of saturation attacks. Even the most advanced billion-dollar naval defense systems can only track and intercept a finite number of targets at once. By launching massive swarms of these relatively cheap mobile missiles simultaneously, Pyongyang intends to exhaust and overwhelm those defenses. Executing that strategy requires a massive stockpile of weapons, and recently Pyongyang has broadcast a soaring confidence in its ability to mass-produce them. Look at this photo released by state media in June 2024. For years, North Korea strictly blurred the faces of personnel at military-industrial sites to protect them from international sanctions and intelligence gathering. Here, the faces of the workers are shown clearly and proudly. Unmasking these workers is a deliberate signal. Pyongyang now treats its munitions production as a legitimate domestic industry, openly flaunting its capacity to arm these coastal battalions. South Korea is reacting to these expanding threat rings by rebuilding its naval defense architecture from the ground up. Their answer is the Korean Destroyer Next Generation, or KDDX program. These highly advanced ships are currently being developed to serve as the future backbone of Seoul's maritime shield. In a strategic move, South Korea is scrapping its reliance on standard American-made SM-2 interceptor missiles. To ensure they can mass-produce and replenish their own stockpiles during a prolonged conflict, they are building their defenses natively. This schematic details the investment into the indigenous SAM-2 system, utilizing a two-stage cold launch mechanism. Compressed gas pops the interceptor from a vertical silo, and once safely cleared, the primary rocket motor violently ignites. Because North Korea's Sea Eagles fly low to evade radar, the SAM-2 looks down from above. Interceptors link directly with newly launched spy satellites, providing space-based terminal guidance to hunt incoming missiles. The Yellow Sea has become the center of a high-tech arms race. Regional stability now depends on whether South Korea's indigenous shield can withstand a new generation of swarming coastal threats.